In today's show, Danny Marang joins the program. We talk about the big news that you've been waiting to hear about. That's right, Moses Brown. Maybe a little Damian Lillard too. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
World, it's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. We're 3 days a week in August, 3 days a week for the first couple weeks of September, and then we're coming back with a vengeance. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and it'll be free on all your platforms. So tell your friends about it. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's episode, a fun one, friend of the program, You remembered him from this time last year when Danny Marang of 1080 The Fan and Jacked Ramsays joined the program. You've heard him on the radio. You've heard him talking Blazers on all your platforms and on streaming live on YouTube with Brandon Sprague. Danny, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. I'm just noticing you've significantly more accoutrements behind you. I really need to step up I just have my Gary Ant and like my Naismith International Park Kirk Goldsberry thing that never actually makes it on screen. So I've got to lay things out behind me better when I move to the new studio.
There you go. I'm in a very small room. This looks like it's a larger room, but I'm in a pretty Harry Potter-esque closet down here. So
you're capitalizing on your space, though.
Exactly. I filled it with a bunch of junk. And if you eagle-eyed listeners will know that the junk keeps growing. I keep adding more junk to the shelf. We're here to talk as you know, the big news. It finally happens. People are excited, and that's why we're here, because the big news is upon us. That's right. The Blazers signed someone taller than 6'10". It took Joe Cronin. I kid you not, more than 1 year to sign a third person taller than 6'10" to the roster. He had Yusuf Nurkic. He added Drew Eubanks. Drew Eubanks might be 6'9", but we'll give him.
He's 6'9",
but he's a tough 6'9".
He is.
So he's a center for sure too. And then we waited and waited and waited. Then we kept waiting, and then we're still waiting, and we waited a little bit more, and then the whole season happened, and it was almost a weird joke. And now
oops, all guards.
Yeah. Oops, all guards indeed. The Blazers finally have a tall person. Welcome back, Moses Brown. Reported on, as we're recording this, Monday, August 21st, by Adrian Wojnarowski, that Moses Brown has agreed to a partially guaranteed 1 year deal to join the Portland Trailblazers. Danny, how excited are you? Give me like a 1 to 10 excitement over Moses Brown.
I'm going to give you a solid 3.5. But only because I think you were there at FanFest 2019, right? When he went out center court and grabbed the microphone, not only did his dance, but started singing.
There is no way I attended FanFest.
No, you weren't there for that one? Okay, it was good. It was a fun one.
There is no way I attended FanFest. I probably, if I did attend FanFest, is because I was getting paid to write something about it.
There you go.
And my former employer, I was probably like, I can't write about this. I know today I forfeit my my check. Yeah, exactly.
That's
but
fair.
I don't think I attended. What I remember of the Moses Brown experience was a game against, and I had to look this up, but I knew that he gave up
2 turnover game.
He gave up 8 points in 50 seconds.
Yes!
Like he was undrafted, right? Like he was undrafted in 2019. He was an undrafted teenager, right? He'd spent a year at UCLA.
Raw.
He was super young, super raw. He was on a 2-way deal. He signed an Exhibit 10 contract. More on the excitement of Exhibit 10s in a moment. But this dude, he wasn't an NBA player, right? He checks in with a minute left. He loses the ball and gives up a dunk in transition. Then they go down and Dame misses a 3. I think it was Devin Booker who scores quickly. And then in a real rush, Moses Brown grabs the ball to throw the ball in bounds as the half is ending, turns the ball over. They hit another 3. He gave up 8 straight points. One right at him and 2 turnovers, 8 points in 52 seconds. And it was clear in those 52 seconds that he was probably not ready to play, but he's actually hung around in the league.
Yeah.
The following
Big 7-2
year,
will do that.
Yeah, he following year he spent 40 games with OKC. The year after that he split time, played 40 games, 26 for Dallas, another 14 for the Cleveland. And then last year he played for the Clippers. And then what I found out today was that he also played 6 minutes for the Brooklyn Nets. Would I have known that he played 6 minutes for the Brooklyn Nets? I would not have. I did know he was a Clipper. I watched a ton of Clippers games last year. I knew he was a Clipper, and I knew he was not a Clipper after the trade deadline. But where had he gone? He played 2 games and 6 total minutes for the Brooklyn Nets, and now he's coming back to the Blazers. He's going to play, right? Like if they were to have to play a game tomorrow, he would play like 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. No, looking at things right now, like everybody keeps waiting the Dame trade. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but Yusuf Nurkic has been missing, I would say, from basically every form of media that the Blazers have done. And I don't think that's by accident, folks. In a perfect world, I bet you the Blazers would be thrilled, over the moon, excited to get a starting big back in any kind of return for Damian Lillard if he was traded. Like that, if I had to peg like one thing that they would want is a starting front court, like real guy that you have, like going.
Are you sure it's not like a 6'3" combo guard?
I'm pretty sure that's the vein of like that's the return they're looking for. He is like 6'10" plus like front court.
Okay,
guy.
well, agree to disagree. 6'3" combo guard. It would be my personal preference. But yeah, go.
What? That guy's out there. He's Tyler Hero. He's there.
Yeah.
But the thing about Moses Brown is that's interesting is we can dance from the Exhibit 10 stuff here. He's already played 4 years, so he can't.
He's not a two-way guy. Yeah, he's not a two-way guy.
So that kind of goes, oh, that's interesting. And I've heard from plenty in the organization that kind of moving forward, the kind of big they want is somebody who's gigantic and doesn't really need the ball. They want a guy who sets screens, rolls to rim, gets out of the way.
Yeah, like I think Chauncey at one point publicly lamented that they didn't have any vertical threats, like lob guys on the roster. And that was maybe even his first year. It's like they were just like, not enough guys you could throw a lob to. Or maybe it was after Larry Nance left. He didn't really like Larry Nance, so he probably complained while Larry Nance was on the roster. Yeah. But like they've been missing that. So Nurk isn't that. He's a giant person for sure, but he's not an above the rim type.
Even pre-injury, he wasn't an above the rim guy.
I would like to just say that Nurk is like 200 times better than Moses Brown, and you'd be better off playing him. But I could understand why the organization would just say, we're going to be bad anyways. Let's go in and let's go hard in another direction. Like it's here, like the sea change is upon us. Let's talk Exhibit 10 stuff. I think the Blazers have signed this week since I last recorded a podcast. I kind of pre-recorded one, so I missed a day. But Ashton Hagans signed a deal. I have Kentucky point guard, has not played in the league, spent the last year in the G League with my beloved Greensboro Swarm. Just a great team name. Loving the Greensboro Swarm. He's a G Leaguer type. He's going to probably end up there. I want to sort of clarify this and like, when people were mad on the internet that the Blazers signed another 6'3" guard because they now have 3 guards on Exhibit 10 deals. Back in June, according to Shams Charania, they signed a couple 6'3" guards, including Malachi Smith and Antoine Davis, I believe is the other one. And those guys played in summer league or were on the summer league roster, and they're going to be in training camp. Yeah, they're going to be in camp. And Ashton Hagans is the same thing. It just happened in August, not in June. Like an Exhibit 10 deal. And let me be clear again. I want to like give the good people listening to this, you sickos listening to this in August. Like if you were upset because the Blazers literally hadn't added anyone new to the team all summer long, I totally get why seeing an Exhibit 10 deal would get you all riled up. But here's what an Exhibit 10 deal is. It's a chance to add guys to it's a soft guarantee to give guys a path to the G League or a 2-way deal. It is,
and they have exactly 0 guys in their G League right now. Legally. Yeah,
exactly. Like they have their 2-way guys with Baji and John Butler Jr., but they have an open 2-way spot, and they an Exhibit 10 deal allows you to, if you go play 60 games in the G League, you can get your bonus money. And that bonus money does not count against the cap. So it's like, come to training camp. We're invested in you. Go play for the Rip City Remix. And when you do, you'll get $60,000 as like a little bonus because like your agent did us a solid by having you bodies in camp. And also we're doing you a solid by like making sure you're on our G League team. So do you have any Ashton Higgins hot takes?
No, just the framing of all of this is interesting in the sense of going back to Moses Brown, him not being Exhibit 10, him being a partially guaranteed deal actually bumps the Blazers up to having an actual, this is the first rostered player that they've signed.
This is the first person they've signed that hasn't been a rookie outside the roster. First new person they've added in this whatever
this
era
cycle. Yes. And
purgatory.
So that bumps them up to 13, which I wrote about it on my Patreon. Like, I think every single roster decision between now and the time Damian Lillard is traded is going to be viewed through the lens of, what does this mean? To me, this isn't the Blazers like saying we're not trading Damian Lillard right now, but it is saying we're okay adding some guys in here and being at least a little bit flexible.
Well, at some point they have to, right?
Yeah,
the clock's ticking. Like they got a training camp is going to start October 3rd.
And guys are getting back into town like this week.
Right.
This
usually,
guys are coming back.
Typically the NBA cycle is Labor Day, the vets come back, and just before Labor Day, young guys get back. Moses Brown is 24. Yeah. We are 2 weeks from Labor Day, 10 days from Labor Day.
Ant's finishing up his camp in Florida right now, and he's coming back when I talked to him the other day.
Yeah, like vets usually trickle in that Labor Day range. Everybody else early. Yeah. If you don't sign guys, if you don't add guys, you're just not going to add them. Which it did kind of seem like the Blazers, the only team in the league who had 12 players as of Sunday, were maybe going to not add anyone, but they finally did, and it's Moses Brown. But here's the thing, as Danny mentioned, they still haven't traded Damian Lillard, and you've waited long enough. You're a Miami Heat fan. Let's talk about Damian Lillard in the second segment. Join us there, won't you? Today's show is brought to you by Bird Dogs, the shorts I'm wearing right now. They don't just make shorts. They also make comfortable pants, too. And it's because they cracked the code on khakis. They make a cloud knit fabric. So instead of the sort of restricting boxy cotton look that you'll get from your current khaki shorts you're rocking all summer long, you can get Bird Dogs. They make you look good. They're versatile, so you can wear them in a whole bunch of different occasions. Plus, they got anti-sweat wicking, anti-stink. That's sweat wicking, anti-stink technology. So you look good, you feel good, you won't smell bad. Why not go take advantage? Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA or use the promo code LockedOnNBA and get a free white tech hat with any purchase. So go buy some shorts, go buy the Lunchman Larry's, get that comfort, that versatility, and that look that just will be better than khakis. And when you do, make sure you're either visiting birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA or using that promo code LockedOnNBA, and you'll get a free white tech hat with your purchase. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. I promise you. All right. Welcome to my beloved listeners in South Florida. We're now going to talk about Damian Lillard. I love y'all. I really do love y'all.
Just put the timestamp on the video. Just so I will. No,
I'll put it in there. It'll be in. If you're watching on YouTube, the timestamp is in there. This is the part where we talk about Dame. I forgot to queue up what we were talking about, but if you're watching on YouTube, we do have the scroll here. But we're going to talk a little Damian Lillard now and kind of why we're here. But the Blazers finally had news. Why we're here. Why the Blazers haven't done anything. Why they've signed one 24-year-old 7'2" center who's like a borderline NBA player, but old enough that he has to be an NBA player, right? They haven't done anything. It's because they're waiting on Dame. Still. And instead of like, we don't need to rehash how we got here, Danny, because most people know.
Yeah.
What is your read on a resolution? Or do you think it's likely we get one prior to October 2nd? Or do you think Damian Lillard shows up at Media Day, Daniel?
I know it was the long shot possibility a month ago. I floated it out there and people kind of said I was an idiot. I was insane. It's not going to happen. But talking to both sides, neither one was budging and neither has budged. I mean, there's been zero give on either side. And Miami's sitting there on the outside going, there's no give on either side of here. And we're still not caring. Like there's just no onus. There's no pressure on anything. So Betting man, I think they're going to take this into camp. Now, a lot can change between now and October 2nd. That's still 6 weeks away. But something is going to need to change from one side or the other. Either Damian Lillard and his folks do what James Harden likes to say is make things uncomfortable. I don't know if Dame's going to invite local reporters down to his basketball camp.
He's going to go to Colorado Springs. Isn't that what Joe's a Colorado guy? He's going to go to Colorado.
Yes.
He's going to go to Denver, outside of Denver. He's going to say, "I'll never play
softball game."
Oh yeah, I'll never play for this nerd ever again.
Yeah.
No, I don't think seems unlikely, but it could get messier for certain. I think it's not like Dame has kind of shied away from the drama necessarily over the last 2 years, but specifically 6 weeks, or so.
Sure.
He's been part of it. What would have to change? What would have to change realistically? Because
there's two paths.
Go ahead.
I was saying there's two paths that for change. One of them is Damian Lillard adding additional teams. The other one is the Portland Trailblazers being willing to accept a package that they are not even willing to entertain at this point. Like those are the two paths right now. A third team could come in, but
what does Dame expanding his list even do? Like, I know he wants to play for the Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. The Miami Heat knows he wants to play for them. The other 28 teams know that too. If Dame publicly says, "You know what? I would play for the Sacramento Kings." Like, how does that actually change the situation? I want, at this point in August of 2023, it might have changed it in July, but I feel like we're so deep. What does that really do in your eyes?
It sounds easier said than done. There's no doubt about that. But I think, and I don't think Dame is going to change his mind. I just don't. And just back and forth talks with him over not just the last couple weeks, but the last couple months, where he is in his mindset. There's two places he wants to be in his mind. It's either in Portland or in Miami. And if he's not going to be in Miami, he would rather be in Portland.
But doesn't that just mean that he doesn't want to get traded to another team?
Yes. And I think that part of that is I get what he is saying when he has told me that, of I don't necessarily want to leave, but if I do, I'm going to go to the one place that I want to go to. But I also think if Damian Lillard was traded to literally any other top level competitor, whether it be Boston or there's so few teams, hell, Brooklyn was a team.
Yeah,
mentioned before.
I guess Philly. If Philly says okay, even though
they work some deal.
Yeah. If Philly, I think he'd be fine with that in the grand scheme.
Boston probably not, though. But
yeah, but I think he's clearly has a positive relationship with Joel Embiid and that stuff, and it's a natural fit, right? It would be a natural fit. Yeah, I think it would be. I think I don't, I'm not in close contact with him, but that's my read from the outside as well, is that he'd be mostly comfortable with it. I just think, to me, I've seen fans say this, Dame expanded over. He just has to expand his list. And Joe Cronin said the same thing.
Doesn't magically fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Joe said the same thing in Summer League. Is sometimes it takes more than one destination. And it really strikes me as the Anthony Davis thing, where he was like, yeah, I have a list of 4 teams I'm willing to play with. And then his dad was he only wants to play for the Lakers. Yeah. It's okay,
it wasn't him.
Yeah. It's if it becomes clear, first of all, there's going to be, like you mentioned just a second ago, there's so few lists of suitors. Even if Dame were to say, okay, here are the teams, it's not 28 teams, right? It's not even 8 teams. It's
it's probably 4.
Maybe.
The teams that I've heard that have kicked around, at least the idea, are Utah, San Antonio, which is on the outside, New Orleans, Miami, Brooklyn. And then Philadelphia, which is right there.
There's no way New Orleans is entertaining the Dame and CJ pairing again.
He'd be gone again.
There is no way.
Yeah.
And it's just too tricky. I like
that machination of that deal is asinine and sideways. But
yeah,
because you've got to find another way to move $30 million while you're bringing in $45 million.
Yeah, Yeah, I heard there was I forget who it was, but I saw some reporting. New Orleans interested, or it might be. I apologize to. I'm not a good aggregator. Usually, I'm really good on the aggregation here. Apologies, but like, yeah, it's like they're trading to reunite Dame and CJ. That like they didn't watch the last 7 years of basketball. Like, can't imagine it. So yeah, San Antonio rumored early, right? I don't think that makes sense just for based on everything else they've done. Utah's a really interesting one, but they're not going to give you the fun stuff. You're not going to get Lowry Markkanen in the deal. No. They're going to
I think a package around their kids and their picks though is significantly better than anything Miami.
Oh, I think it's the best one. They theoretically the Taylor Hendricks, Ochai Agbaji, and the picks that they have
a Lakers pick and a Timberwolves pick, like call it good,
and a Cavs pick banking on it blowing up for them,
when Donovan Mitchell leaves and Jared Allen's traded, sure.
Exactly. Like I think certainly the idea of Utah is definitely my preferred. It would be my preferred choice if I was in charge. If I was in charge, I'd just trade him to the Heat. Yeah.
Have you reached the point of like, you just want this done?
It's not that I'm over it. It's that when I do the logic, and I'm not a big, like, I know like Danny, I know like two or three people left in the NBA. All of them do other stuff now, or many of them don't return my text messages. But the people who I'm just reading the sort of the logic of it. I just don't see another deal. I don't see another deal happening. And I want to ask you about this in the third segment. How is Damian Lillard's trade value going to increase from right stinking now? That's what I want to ask you to close the show. Join us in the third segment, won't you? Still a past first point guard, still Mike Richmond, still chatting here with Danny Marang. You know him from Danny and Dusty at 1080 The Fan, 12 to 3 on your radio dial, and Jacked Ramsays, wherever you get podcasts, streaming on YouTube. So I mentioned it in the previous segment. Damian Lillard he's 32. Excuse me, just over his 33rd birthday. Is that correct? I apologize to Dame. Happy birthday, July 15th. We missed it here in the pod. We missed it here in the pod. It happened on a Saturday. We would have worn our hats. I keep a lot of party hats in this closet. But he's coming off the best year of his career. He was freaking great last year by some statistical measurements, maybe the best offensive player in the NBA. He was awesome, about as good as he's ever been, maybe as good as he's ever been.
Easily.
What's he gonna do in October for the Blazers that significantly changes anyone across the league that says, you know what? We weren't into it before, but now we're willing to push our chips in. Like what materially changes with Dame that would change it? Because I've already told you I don't think Dame expanding his list does anything. What do other teams see that changes the market?
I think the thing that makes the most sense is he shows he's still that guy, that there's zero drop off. The thing that Dame, for those that don't, Dame takes care of his body like LeBron James takes care of his body. Like that's
Dame, $1 million a year in physical maintenance.
Dame doesn't stop. You know this, Mike.
He's always been that way. And as he got older, he was like, I'm going to play less basketball. I'm going to do more pool workouts. I'm going to spend, he's been, as he's gotten older, the sort of maturation of his diet and all those things. Like he's definitely very serious about being in good shape. And when he had a bunch of time off physically after following surgery, he looked great. Like he came
back as an absolute monster.
His burst to the rim was awesome last year. Awesome. In his age 32 season. He was bonkers. That's why I don't think his value can get better, because he was already so freaking good. In my eyes, at best, he plateaus at that level. That's like the best case scenario. And
that's to me a reassurance of like,
sure. Okay.
You don't like, you're looking at James Harden right now, and James is a year older than Dame, but he has got city miles. James is significantly more broken down than Dame. The thing that Dame has told me over the last couple of years is he's not going to play until he's 40. Like that's never been in his plan. He doesn't want to be that guy, but also like he's how injured he was and what he played through when he had that core injury. He had a baseball sized knot in his groin basically for 4 years. So when it was aggravated, that would just drive him insane. but he's the kind of guy where he hasn't been injured other than the calf. He hasn't had a reoccurring injury in his entire career until this past year when he had a calf and he pushed to come back too soon.
Yeah, and he missed 12 games prior to Christmas.
Yeah, and he said, I shouldn't have done it. Like, it's, I got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Like, it's, soft tissue injuries, all those kind of things. Outside of that, that guy is bulletproof. And so you don't worry about like Chris Paul or James Harden, where you've got a hamstring issue that's lingered for literally 2 years. You don't worry about the additional miles and how beat up they've been throughout their career. Dame has been, look, he's had injuries that aren't,
and they missed the playoffs, baby. He's just not getting those miles.
No, that's honestly him being arrested the last 2 years between his surgery and being sat down may have gotten him another year. And I don't say that jokingly. I seriously think that may have added another year to, like, maybe not the peak, but the drop-off is going to be significantly less at year 35, year 36. It may hit the proverbial cliff at 37, but I think that's what you're looking for is, like, can 33, 34, 35-year-old Damian Lillard still be at or near All-NBA? And I think if he goes out in the first couple months and it's like, oh, dude, he's still that dude. You got guys looking around the league going, if we add a guy who can quite literally drop 50 on a given night and average 30 with nobody around him, what could he do on a team where he doesn't have to carry that burden? And I think then you might get one, maybe two teams interested. I think that's what the Blazers are hoping for. And again, it is a Hail Mary, but I keep seeing Heat fans talk about, well, we're just going to pull more out of the deal. We're just going to put, like, okay, good luck. Look, I have zero issue with Dame requesting Miami and wanting to go to Miami or the Blazers dealing him there. But the Blazers are not going to deal Damian Lillard for a package that quite literally would be the worst return on a star player in modern NBA history. It's not going to happen. So where that path figures it's out, this is, unstoppable force meets immovable object right now. It's not ugly. It's not James Harden, Daryl Morey, but there has not been an ounce of wiggle room in this entire thing in 2 months, 2.5 months.
The Blazers have no pressure to do anything until we get to close to training camp, right? Like there's no reason for them to do anything in August.
Zero impetus for them to do it.
It's late September is when they are going to have to look in the mirror and they're going to have to say, do we want to bring Dame into training camp? Do we actually want to go through with this? And it's not just bringing Dame in. It's the weirdness of, what do you do with, you've set this team up to be a Scoot Henderson team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Scoot, you play 22 minutes a night. You want Shane Sharp to play a bunch of minutes.
He gets bumped down.
I don't know where you play now. Nazir Little, you just straight up don't play because we don't have minutes for you.
Shane's playing 15, 20 there.
Yeah, like you don't, like you just straight up don't, it hurts some of their developmental plans. Whether you believe that matters in the short term is, I think, totally like debatable, and a fair opinion to say it doesn't. To some extent, I think there's a point.
I think no matter what, it matters. But like the thing is, and this is kind of something I've heard floated around the NBA for the pro Joe Cronin front office personnel around the league is like, if he gets this deal wrong, not only is he probably not going to keep his job, then he's setting the organization up for failure in the long run. Like, so the uncomfortableness of 4 or 5 months that this could amount to is worth kind of swallowing that pill. And I think it's an interesting thought because, like you said, there's this idea of contrasting ideas, I guess, of like how much you stifle development in those couple of months, but in the long run, the 3-4 year runway, when you're talking about player development, personnel, all machinations, if you get a better deal, how much more valuable is that as opposed to the reps that you lost for a couple of months?
Yeah, I'll see. I mean, obviously Joe Cronin a little more plugged in than me in the league, like just a tad. But like, I guess my pushback there is like, I don't see it. And it could happen, but I don't see that magic better deal coming. What I see is Miami putting in their best version of this deal that basically maybe they've been holding out on, whatever it might be, or they just like haven't found the suitor for Tyler Hero. And that's
the magic third door, is if he comes out and balls out. And
that's where I was going with this, is that I'm not going to swear on here. It's a family show, but like, I don't think Dame's going to do jack all that matters to like change people's opinion of him as long as he's healthy, right? He's really stinking good. And I'm of the opinion he's going to be really stinking good this year again. But like, if Tyler Hero is great, really, maybe then some teams say, actually, no, we could use a 24-year-old who can really hoop. And maybe to some extent, like if you're really getting deep into the weeds, Anthony Simons, like the same thing where it's like balls. And it's like, actually, okay, now all the deck chairs, you can move them around and it makes more sense. And then you can get the draft compensation. Okay. I want to ask you this to hear as we wrap up. If Miami puts their best version of it on the table, so that's they unprotect all the pick to OKC. So you get a 2024 pick, a 2028 pick, a 2030 pick. You get swaps there, and I guess they'd give them the 26 pick. So you get swaps in 25 and 27, plus the two youngsters, Nikola Jovic, who's famous for having a name that sounds like Nikola Jokic, Jaime Jaquez, who's famous for I liked him in the pre-draft process. Those are
great Drew League dunk though too.
Those are their two biggest claims to fame. Similar name to the MVP, and I liked Jaime Jaquez prior to him entering the draft, and I don't even know any college basketball players. And whatever you're getting salary wise, and you get Hero for, let's call it a top 6 protected pick. Is that enough?
I don't think they do it.
Would you do it?
No, I wouldn't do it. I'll be entirely blunt. I have told Damon I wouldn't do it. I don't think the Blazers can win this trade, but they can't lose it. And I think they have to find a way to get, even if they took less draft capital, but got a player somewhere, like one like shining beacon on the hill. And I'm not looking for like Zion coming out of the draft type hype. I'm like one good player. Like you're just like, yes, that's a guy who's going to, not a fringe starter, not a contributor. I'm talking that guy's starting. And we think that there's a ramp for him. If you squint really hard and everything comes out, he may be an all-star. Like they get that one thing. Sure. It changes. Like if Tyler Hero goes and the value goes up and you send him to San Antonio for, I don't know, Keldon Johnson and something, and that gets sent to Cleveland and Jared Allen goes to Portland, or Jeremy Sohan and like another young, again, front court. Things of that nature, like something like that, then I think they do the deal. But as it stands right now, it's like, well, I got $5. Well, I got a 10. Hold on, let me see. I think I've got a used Metro Pass. Like they just keep adding things to the pile that really aren't helpful. It's like they just keep the piles getting bigger, but the value's not changing. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's not like, you've got to find something like, you slam that on the table and you're like, you take the watch off. How about this? It's kind of like that kind of a deal. You got to find that one thing and you're like, okay, now we can play. And until then, as things sit right now, I don't think the Blazers change their mind, but also I don't think Damian Lillard changes his mind. So it's like, it's the standoff.
And I don't think they're getting a better deal than 4 crappy picks and 2 youngsters for Damian Lillard in the end. So we'll see how it goes down. Listen, here's the thing. It's not going to happen. I mean, it might now. I'm actually going out of town this weekend. So it's probably going to, so it's like, that's when it's going to happen when I'm away from my computer. I got a couple final summer vacations planned. So that's the most likely time that it will happen. That'll be back in action. It's not going to happen. But like nothing from the moment we record this in the next 10 days would be my guess changes at all. No. It's just the waiting game. And August is a sacred vacation month in the NBA. We're getting to the end of it. But the first couple weeks of August, nothing happens because everybody just did all their pre-draft stuff. Then they got the draft. Then they went to summer league. Then they wheeled and dealed in free agency. And then their families were like, I know what happens. I know what happens the next 7 months. Yeah. We are going on vacation. get away, burn the phone, whatever it is.
Notice what happened today? You had Olivier Sarr signed, Scala Bussiere signed, Moses Brown signed. Shout out all of the Blazers legends, reclamation bigs getting options. But Usman Garuba, soon to be Blazers legend, all being signed and released.
Long-time Danny Marang favorite. I can confirm that.
Yes.
Someone I've heard you've talked. Yeah, someone that you talked to me about in like 2021. It's back. Like the fact that there was no action in August is not like this huge red flag. I think it's funny.
It's
like
normal.
there's like the Blazers don't want to do business. Like, well, the Blazers do not want to do business the first 2 weeks of August. They might want to do business in the future, but really everyone needs a little break. Everyone needs a break. But I think it's
Lyles wasn't in there grinding. He's on his. He's probably in the San Juans. Chilling.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the Blazers.
But now we're back, and I think we're going to see more action, including exciting stuff like Moses Brown. Danny, can I convince you to stick around for another episode?
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll put it out a little later in the week.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, dear listeners, come back. More from Danny Marang. Actually, in between that, I got a fun episode coming up. The folks from Locked On Heat are going to join me. We're going to do a fake trade, bargaining session. So don't miss that one. And then the show after that, you'll hear Danny Marang. So come back for both of those shows later this week. Where else you getting this much Blazers content in the middle of August? If you made it this far, you're going to want to come back. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.